did we learn from Auburn's A-Day this past Saturday? They obviously had their spring game, and spring games of scoring is always different from game to game. The way that Auburn did it, they said, defense, we're spotting you 27 points. If you can hold the offense under 27, you win the ball game. Offense, however, thanks to Towns Magoo, one of the best names in college football, won the game 28-27. But again, what did we learn from this game? What are our takeaways? And what do we think about Auburn long-term in 2024? We'll talk about it right now. But first things first, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We're talking about spring games, man. Spring games. We love this sport with every fiber of our being, just like you. We got a ton more to break down throughout the course of this week and a ton more to break down when it comes to the spring games from next weekend. So bottom line, make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate you so much in advance for doing that for us. So, disclaimer before we get started here. Spring games, even though we have that word game next to it, is not for us as college football fans to learn about the starters or to get answers about the team as a whole. We can kind of extrapolate some things that we see and sort of take some observations and, fill in some blanks that way. But let's be real here. This is the spring game, yes. The A-Day, yes. This is practice 15 for Auburn. So for those of y'all that are, sort of just getting dialed into what a spring game is, going to be very vanilla from a scheme standpoint, going to rotate a lot of guys. Most of what this spring game is for the staff to see some less proven guys make some plays and see what they have from a depth perspective. And I thought Auburn overall, man, answered a lot of those questions, checked a lot of those boxes. But let's start with the obvious here, man. All spring long, we have been saying, and y'all have probably been hearing from other sources as well, Cam Coleman, the true freshman wide receiver who enrolled early, is a 5-star plus kind of cat. On3 was way ahead of the game there when it came to his recruitment and him being a baller in that 2024 cycle. He's special. He's special in every sense of the word. And Hugh Freeze said as much during his post-game press conference or post-A-Day press conference. He said he changes us. He changes us. He changes what we can be offensively is what I'm taking from that, listening to Hugh Freeze talk. Offensively last year for Auburn, they averaged 6.3 yards a pass, good for 107th in the country. Some of that is Payton Thorne, no way around it. Some of that is the offensive scheme, no way around that. A lot of that, in my opinion, is who you didn't have catching the football for you. With Cam Coleman, I understand he's a true freshman. I understand he's been on campus for like 13 minutes, played in 15 spring practices. He is a difference maker. He is going to make that yards per pass number, I would imagine, a good deal higher. He gives Auburn's offense an alpha dog wide receiver. Even as a true freshman, when he hits the ground running and puts it all together, he is one of the best wide receivers, I would have to believe, in the SEC or has a chance to be. And when he hits the ground running, he's going to be special for Auburn. So you saw that in this game. Had a big-time touchdown catch. Had another almost catch that looked borderline acrobatic, reaching around the DB and almost brought it in. Also had another big-time catch to start the game off from Hank Brown. 92 yards receiving. A-Day MVP, Cam Coleman, as advertised. He changes the game for them. Also saw some guys like Robert Lewis having a good day, transfer from Georgia State. Camden Brown, I thought, had a pretty solid day as well. Both guys putting up decent numbers. Bottom line, I think you have a more than serviceable wide receiver core this upcoming year for Auburn, which should excite Auburn fans based on how they want to operate this offense. Now, let's talk about the other side of that equation. I thought that the quarterbacks had a solid day. Payton Thorne is someone who I came away a lot more impressed with than I think maybe we're talking about right now after the spring game. Let's make sure we say this too. Payton Thorne's best asset is his ability to run the football. It's what makes him unique and what I think makes him your starting quarterback in 2024 for Auburn. He wasn't able to run the football in this game, at least not how you're going to see him run in the fall, because, again, he's wearing that orange non-contact jersey, so he still had 20 yards rushing, still made some plays with his legs, but you didn't get to see the full Payton Thorne experience in the A-Day. So what that means is you had to see Payton Thorne more or less isolated as a passer in Hugh Freeze's offense. 9 for 13, 133 yards, had that touchdown pass to Cam Coleman. I was just impressed by how he operated out there within that offense. Like, you saw him get across from read 1 to read 2 all the way back to read 3 where he used his legs a little bit early in that game. I was also really impressed with just the confidence that he was throwing the football with. Like, it was very obvious he was night and day more comfortable in a Hugh Freeze, a true Hugh Freeze offense than he was last year. We keep saying this too with Payton Thorne, man. He did not get spring practice last year. So last year, I think everybody would tell you Payton Thorne underperformed. I think Payton Thorne would tell you he underperformed. I would think a lot of what he did last year was trying to cram in what this offense was into his brain because he was their best option at quarterback, and they were trying to get him up to speed. You're not going to have that this year. This year, he goes into the season with a lot more of a foundation of what they want to do offensively, and I think that's the key thing here with Payton Thorne, man. When I saw him play quarterback, some of it's probably him getting the most reps with the ones and probably him being the guy going into the year, but the offense has a very clear direction when number one is playing quarterback. It's we're going to get you off balance in that second level of your defense. You don't know if it's our running back with the ball. You know if it's Payton Thorne with the ball. We're going to attack on the perimeter, and when you overplay the perimeter game, we're going to go right at you, north and south. And oh, by the way, now we got a dude in Cam Coleman who can go get that 50-50 ball for us. Assuming he puts it together, that's what they're going to have. So I thought Payton Thorne ran the offense the best. I was encouraged to see him stepping into throws and looking like he knew where to go with the football definitively. Was he perfect? No. Wasn't a perfect day for him, but by all accounts, if I'm an Auburn fan, I think what Payton Thorne did during that A-Day should get me a little bit more encouraged about the direction of this offense in 2024. Now, the defense under DJ Durkin, I thought they were flying around, man. Like Hugh Freeze said as much. Probably got shorted a little bit when it came to that final score on the scoreboard there during the A-Day, but they were flying around, man. Hugh Freeze said the defense dominated the line of scrimmage. Jaron Thompson, another A-Day MVP, he looked good, man. Transfer from Texas, wearing that number 1 on his jersey, had a sack or a would-be sack in the game that, he obviously just tagged off on the quarterback. Active. The thing with me watching this defense play as opposed to last year, they still, I thought, had a good amount of aggression last year defensively. They weren't bad last year defensively, but this year to me, just based on the A-Day, again, we're trying to fill in some blanks here, I think they're going to be much more structurally sound as a defense, meaning you're going to see a lot more guys in position to make plays. And then I think there's also a fair amount of confidence and solid instincts within this defense. Like when I watched that defense play on the A-Day, again, scheme very vanilla. You're not overthinking the room. You're not, doing the exotic blitz per se. But when I saw them play out there, they were playing fast. That's the key. That's the key word there. Playing fast, playing instinctual football. Because we all know this now. In the SEC, you cannot think and play defense. Athletes are too good. Coordinators are too good. Schemes are too good. Like you can't be a half step slow and expect to be all right in the SEC. I think DJ Durkin and his pedigree, I think the tempo he brings to this defense, the standard he has internally there, we got to see it firsthand watching that defense during spring practice. I think this Auburn defense is going to surprise some people this year. I'll just leave it at that. So have to talk about this too. Towns Magoo, early enrollee as well. A lot of early enrollees to be excited about from this A-Day. 7 for 7, 58-yarder to win the ball game. They scooted him up a little bit there for that game winner, but still, man, like the guy was taking calculus all of like a couple of months ago, or maybe not calculus. I don't know, whatever Towns Magoo took as a first semester senior in high school. Good for him. He was taking math at the high school level a couple months ago. He's banging through an A-Day game winner with a bunch of fans in Jordan Air. Got to be encouraged by that, man. 7 for 7. I'm just saying that's encouraging to me if I'm an Auburn fan, knowing that you got to get a leg like that on the roster. So from a macro level, what do we think about Auburn? This is not so much specific to the A-Day as it is just how we feel after being able to go talk to Coach Freeze, go see practice, and what we think they have on the roster. I think Auburn, when I look at their over-under win total, it's at 7.5. If Payton Thorne translates how I think he's going to translate, I love that over on 7.5 wins for the Tigers. I really do, because the thing with them is if Payton Thorne is who I believe he's going to be, and he still has to prove it, there's still a fair amount of a question mark with him. I got some confidence, number one. They have a roster that doesn't really need to wait around. And don't just take my word for it. Look at what they did last year. Played Georgia the final drive. Played Alabama to the final play. And I understand they lost to New Mexico, and that's a black eye on the whole season. I understand that. New Mexico State, rather. But when you look at Auburn from a roster perspective, they are going to be good enough to wreak some havoc in the SEC. I'm not saying you're going to Atlanta. I'm not saying you're going to go make the college football playoff. But what they have right now in-house, they don't have to wait around to build it back up to have a chance to compete with the big boys in that conference. They have it right now. So can they execute? Can they do the right things internally to put it all together and get them over the hump in some of those games? We'll see. That 7.5 win total, man, I'm taking the over right now when I look at Auburn. So let me know how y'all feel about the Tigers. Let me know your own observations on the A-Day. Again, jam-packed Saturday coming up for us here. We got a lot of big spring games. We do a Sunday sprint during the season. We're going to do a spring Sunday sprint for you right here on the On3 YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram at JD Piquel. We appreciate you for that in advance. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.